All right, well, that was touch and go for a second there. UFC 281, Pereira versus Israel Adesanya. The weigh-ins just finished in New York City. Now, first person to the scale was Israel Adesanya. He walked out like an absolute champ, a man that's been there, done it, got the t-shirt and defended the belt many, many times. Now, when the weigh-ins start, you have a 2-hour window. In New York, the Athletic Commission there, the rules are that if you weigh in and you don't make weight the first time, you then have another 2 hours to make weight. As I say, when the fight started, Israel Adesanya, he was one of the first on the scale. Carla Esparza was there. Zhang Weili was there. A lot of the big names, they were all there. But as the clock ticked down, as the seconds wore away, as the seconds turned into minutes, into hours, there was still no show from Alex Pereira. And then right in the final few minutes, Alex Pereira shows up. And let me tell you, everyone was getting kind of tense because there was no backup fighter for this. We know in some of the other big name fights that we've had recently, there's been backup fighters. Alexander Volkanovski was the backup for Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. He's done that a few times now. And generally, that is what they do. The UFC have always had these backups. But there was no one else. The only other middleweight fight that was happening on this card was Andre Petroski taking on Wellington Turman. And respect to both guys, but I don't think either man will be stepping up to fight Israel for the belt. Now, this is the way it goes down. And by the way, Israel Adesanya was loving this. He was tweeting out popcorn emojis, basically saying, I've weighed in with my team. I'm replenishing, I'm taking on nutrients, I'm rehydrating, I'm lying down, I'm there with all my team, my coaches, my management from Paradigm Sports Management, all my team at City Kickboxing. We're sitting down in my hotel suite right now, taking on nutrients, rehydrating, feeling good, got my feet up, eating whilst watching the show and eating popcorn and laughing at Alex Pereira. And this puts Izzy already up psychologically. Of course, coming into this one, the real psychological advantage belongs to Pereira because he's beaten Izzy twice. But if you're rehydrating, if you're, already taking on the nutrients while your opponent is struggling to make weight, it feels so good. And that's why Izzy's playing a few games. That's why he's putting up the popcorn emojis, right? And to be fair, this might have been part of Pereira's plan all along. Generally, when you cut weight, when I used to cut weight, and most fighters do it like this, I used to have 15 pounds to cut. And let's just imagine that Pereira had 15 pounds to cut. And generally, the heavier weight classes from welterweight and upwards, they tend to do about 15 pounds or so. And the way you do that is you do half of it the night before. Then you go to bed, you have a crappy night's sleep because you're super tired. And then you do the next half in the morning. You don't want to have to do 15 pounds all at once. But granted, different people might have different strategies. Izzy wanted to be up nice and early. He wanted to be the first person on the scale because that obviously gives you more time to rehydrate. And that is the big one. Yes, you need to take on carbohydrates and all the rest of it, but the main thing is replacing the fluid, the liquids in your body, and primarily the cerebral fluid around the brain. That acts as a cushion to stop the brain hitting the interior of the skull. When that happens, the lights go out, so you've got to be hydrated. And that's why this is such a big point when it comes to safety features of the fights, the weighing in and the times and all the rest of it. And that's why it is so closely monitored. Now, granted, as I say, Pereira might have had a different game plan. He might have thought, no, we're going to do most of it. We're going to do most of it in the morning. And if he did do that, that's a bad game plan because you don't. I'll tell you this, there's no way. There was 3 minutes left of the weigh-ins when Pereira walked up. And I guarantee that the UFC were running around backstage saying, hey, listen, time's up. You've got to get on that scale. You've got to get on it right now, even if it's just a formality, because if you don't get on the scale right now, the fight's over. The fight will not take place. So regardless whether you make weight or not, get on that scale right now, because if you do, then now it activates the next 2 hour time frame, the next 2 hour window for you to do that. And as I say, It is a horrible feeling. You know, when you make weight, it will turn the biggest, toughest guys on the planet into cowards and little boys. We've all seen videos of Jose Aldo and many other great legendary fighters dying, being forced back into the sauna, lying in the bath saying, I can't do it, I can't go on anymore. And their corners and their coaches and managers are imploring them, please, you've got to do it. The reality is when you cut weight to that kind of extreme, you're almost dead. And it's crazy that we do it, and I hope it's a trend that goes away. But that, as I say, that is why you feel so bad. Now, granted, the reality is we do have a main event. We do have a title fight. Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya is going down. And while Pereira has the real advantage psychologically, because yes, he's beaten him twice, right now, Adesanya's scoring a little bit of brownie points. In the psychological warfare, he's starting to close the gap a little bit. He's saying, look at that, you might have been the bigger guy. Remember, there was that video right at the start of the training camp for both these people where Pereira was on a scale. He was 218 pounds and he looked absolutely jacked. Well, now he's saying, you see that? You see all those muscles? Now you had a bad weight cut. The longer the fight goes on, the more tired you're gonna get. Because the reality was, coming into this one, is that Pereira was always dangerous. And even though he might cruise ahead on the scorecards, he might jab and leg kick his way to a decision. Anytime throughout that fight, right up until the final seconds of the fifth round, the final round, Pereira is always dangerous and always has that one-punch knockout power that could flatline Izzy. Well, now, on the back of a pretty disastrous weight cut, I mean, who knows, maybe they planned it to a T and this is what they wanted. Generally, you don't wait until the final minutes because that is dangerous. It is a bad strategy. Things can go wrong. There can be a discrepancy in the scales in your room and the scales on the actual official weight. So that's a dangerous game plan, right? And if you get it wrong, well, then there's big consequences. So right now, Izzy's happy. Okay, Izzy's here rehydrated. Izzy's probably on his third meal, and Pereira right now is still feeling like absolute dog shit because the weigh-in was tough. But still, he made it. 184.6 or 0.8, I'm not sure. Regardless, he made weight and the fight is on. Of course, Yang Wei Li, Carla Esparza, they both showed up like professionals. They got the job done, no problem. Chandler, Dustin Poirier, that one is done. That is in the record books. That fight is going down tomorrow night. The people's main event, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. I think I've got Poirier winning that one still, but you never know. Frankie Edgar's final fight is in the books. He's taking on Chris Gutierrez. Everyone made weight. Ryan Spann, I believe, did not, though. Ryan Spann missed weight. I think there might have been one other. But all in all, the weigh-ins are done. The fight is complete. The main event is going down. Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira. But what do you think? Do you think Pereira, I mean, if he had a tough weight cut, he's going to come into this one heavier. We know that Israel is kind of on the lighter, he's certainly very lean, but he's on the lighter side for the middleweight division. He doesn't really do the big weight cuts. Even when he went up to 205 pounds to fight Jan Blachowicz, he wasn't that heavy. So Pereira is going to be the heavier guy. He's going to be the stronger guy. We already know that he hits harder, but will he have the conditioning now to go 5 rounds? These are real questions and real possibilities that might affect the outcome of this fight tomorrow night, but there it is. Anyway, the weigh-ins are done. Can't wait. The fight's going to be sensational. Tomorrow, around 3 p.m, 4 p.m, I'm doing a live on the YouTube channel. I'm going to do a fight companion style. I'm going to be watching the fights, answering your questions. So if you're around and you're on your computer, or you got your phone in your hand, tune in, ask me some questions, and I'll see you then. Take care. Can't wait for this one. Thanks for watching. Oh, subscribe, ring the bell. Come on. Let's go.